Hello, and welcome to the November Dynamics 365 Partner Community Call. This is Barb Barrowman, and myself and Karen Moen will be your presenters for today. So this call is going to be recorded, so please drop off now if you don't wish to be a part of this recording. We are going to be posting the recording and the deck on our Yammer site by the end of the week. Karen will be posting our Yammer site in the Q&A window again. You can also listen to the recording by coming back to the same Event Builder registration link, and the recording will be available in 24 to 48 hours. You may need to re-register for the event, but as soon as you register for that event, it'll say that you can listen to the recording again. If you have any questions during the presentation, please post a note in the Q&A window, and we will do our best to respond during the call. All right, I wanted to start us out with an announcement. The July 2017 update is now GA. And I just put a quick link in there with a link to information on what's new in the customer engagement release. Karen is going to post that in our chat window also if you guys want to take a look at that after the call. But very exciting news for us. Okay, today our topic is going to be Organization Insights. Organization Insights, it's a solution that's going to provide insight to customers and partners around usage, activity, and quality of service for Dynamics 365 customer engagement. And this is an actual solution that you're going to download today from AppSource and will be listed as a solution inside of your Dynamics 365 module. So what is the problem we're trying to solve with this solution? Previously, customers and partners did not have the ability to quickly determine, say, who was using Dynamics or what was maybe impacting the performance and where is all my storage going? That's our most common question that we get. So this solution is really going to be presenting a dashboard format with a lot of great charts that are going to showcase the information that you're looking for quickly and easily. So these screenshots are taken from our demo tenant. So we're not going to see a lot of great information since we don't have very many active users. We've had really good momentum with Organization Insights. It was previewed last fall, and we've had a lot of people implementing it and giving us feedback already on this the next revision that we've released. But we definitely have a lot more customers and partners that we wanted to get information out today with our call so that you guys can understand what this solution can bring to the table and start implementing it for your customers. Okay, there are essentially three key benefits when we're using Organization Insights today. It's going to help around driving adoption. It's going to help monitoring your storage and help you to effectively troubleshoot performance issues. In regards to adoption, you're going to get visibility into the total number of active users, and you can select the time period that you're looking that you're actually looking at for the number of active users, and you can go back 90 days. You're also going to be able to view what operations are being used, like create and delete. And as you can see up here, we have, this is new from the preview if you've played with it, but we now have active users and we have some additional tabs up here that are going to give us more information. So one of the new features that we've just added with the latest release, it's going to allow you to see how users are actually accessing Dynamics. We're going to be able to see what operating system they're using. We're going to be able to see what device type. We're going to be able to see what browser they're using. This was actually a direct request from our customers. A lot of them are using maybe or having a bring your own device initiative. So the customers are wanting to see if people are maybe accessing it with a tablet or a phone to confirm that the adoption rate is going up for these initiatives that they have in place. You're also going to be able to view which entities are being used. We're going to see here we have charts on out-of-the-box entities and our custom entities. So maybe the customer has put a lot of time, energy, and money into a custom configuration, and we want to ensure that the customers are actually using that custom entity. So this is one of the screens you'll be able to use to view and see if that custom entity is being utilized. We're also going to have a view into mailbox usage. So you'll be able to see information about the configuration and if there's any errors, again, to kind of help drive that adoption. All right, so as we move on to helping to monitor your storage, you can see here at the high level, we're able to get and see exactly what we're using from a tenant perspective, how much storage we're using at the tenant level. And then you'll also get breakdown in the charts to be able to see where it's being used at an instance level. And then you're also going to get some information in the charts about the tables that they're using. All right, as we move on to helping you troubleshoot, we're going to have a couple of different dashboards available to you. The first one I'm showing here is on the plugins. So again, being able to see information about the most active plugins, how successful are the plugins. And then you're also going to get the same information in regards to the APIs. What is your top used API? Are they being successful? All right, and then like I said, when the fall preview came out, we had a really good adoption, had good feedback from our customers. Here's just kind of some of the comments that we've seen from the customers. We did release a current version just recently that added some of these the features that the customers were asking for, and we're continuing to receive that feedback and update the product. But again, something that customers have been waiting for years, so we want to make sure you guys are aware of it and are able to get this out to your customers right away. Definitely one of the new tools in their tool belt that'll help with adoption and just overall requirements for having a successful implementation. All right, with that, I'm going to pass it over to Karen, and she's going to talk a little bit about implementation and a brief demo.
Awesome. Thank you, Barb. I'm just going to take over as presenter here so I can advance the slides. Oh, of course it started from the beginning. Let me just move on here. Sorry about this. I'm just going to click through. Might be a little painful. We'll get there eventually. Okay. Installation steps. So it's really pretty simple to get this installed. And we'll again provide these slides as Barb had mentioned so that you can go through these steps. But really, it's such a great tool to get insights into what's happening with dynamics in your environment. So I don't see any downside of installing this. And because it's so simple to do, I would recommend it for every implementation. So I'm not going to go through the install because it takes a little bit of time here, but just wanted to document the steps. So really, when you're in Dynamics 365, if you go into settings and the Dynamics Marketplace, you want to select the Dynamics Organization Insights, and you can see that as kind of the first tile right here, and then just click on Get It Now. And that will start the installation process for you. You do have to select, select the instance or the organization that you're going to install this into. Click a couple boxes to agree with the terms and click agree, and that will kick off the installation. Really what this is doing is installing a solution file. And you can go ahead and check the status of that installation in your Dynamics 365 Admin Center. And I've got that highlighted down here. If you go into a tenant and you select solutions, you can see organizational insights here, and you can see that it's been installed. The last step that you do need to do is, once the installation is complete, go into Dynamics 365 and make sure that Organization Insights is enabled. And there's still an option in previews, even though this is a GA capability. You still want to go into Settings, Administration, System Settings, and Previews, and just make sure that it's set to enable. The enable is set to yes. Okay, let's go ahead and do a demo. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop now. And I will ask Barb maybe to confirm when my screen comes up. Are you seeing that now, Barb?
Yep, we're seeing the screen now.
Okay, great. So I thought I'd just start at the Admin Center. So here's my tenant here, and I'm going to go into Solutions. And I can just go ahead and confirm that Organization Insights is installed in this tenant. I do know it's already there, but you could do a confirmation. And during the install process, you could just kind of monitor the solution. It will say installation pending if the installation is still taking place. And once it's done, it will say installed. And of course, my tenant is taking longer than I'd like it to. I'll go ahead and come back to this in a second. The other thing I mentioned is that this installs a solution file. Well, let me see. It looks like it resolved that. So here's all the things installed in my tenant in my Admin Center. I'm going to go to the second page. Notice right here I could see Organizational Insights, the version, when it's available until, and then it's installed. And if and when upgrades happen, you may see an upgrade available in here as well going forward. So I know it's installed. Again, it installed a solution file. So here I'm just in Settings, in Solutions, and I can see the Organization Insights solution file that was installed right here. Again, it's that same version number. It's a managed solution from us. So you can always go in here too and confirm that the solution file is there. The next thing from an administrative perspective for this is that the system administrator and system customizer security roles will have access to look at this dashboard. So I'm going to go down and show you. I'm going to go into the system administrator role. And if I go into the core records here and I scroll down, this option right here, saved organizational insights configuration, I have read access on that. So in order to grant someone access, they have to have this read access for, again, the saved organizational insights configuration. So you could grant a user those rights, or you could grant another one of these security roles. But as I mentioned, both the system administrator and system customizer roles are granted access by default. Now, if you would like someone to be able to change the dashboard layout and make some updates, then you need to grant some additional permissions. And this will show up under Custom Entities. And if I go down here, I see, I'm looking for my O's, the organizational user definition, Org Insights user definition. So you can see all of the capabilities are enabled here. So I have to have that in order to, again, make modifications to the dashboard. So you could give someone just read access, or you could also give them access to modifications. And again, system administrator and system customizer roles are the two that have access by default. So let's go ahead and jump in. And Barb showed some great screenshots here, but this is the live version of the dashboard. And this is kind of the main page you come into, and you have a home dashboard. And there's a number of charts on here by default. But this dashboard can be changed. So I'm going to show you how to edit and add things to this main dashboard. One key thing is you can change the time frames that you're looking at. So if I want to, instead of looking just at the last 2 days, if I want to go back and look at from the beginning of this month, I want to look at a little bit more activity, I could do that. And I refresh the data. So that should give me a little bit more information. You still see that, again, this is a demo tenant, so I don't have a huge amount of activity. I'm going to go back maybe to the beginning of September and see if I can add some additional activity in here. So everything's going to update. You could see some of these counters may have increased. But on this main screen, again, we've got some of the key metrics you might want to see. How many active users are in the system, the total number of API calls, the success rate. So this is a great place at a glance to see, am I having problems in my system? You can see it right here. Plugin executions. You can look at total operations across a time frame, and you can scroll across this graph to see what the numbers are. And you notice that our activity varies across the month, depending on what our team is up to and how many demos we're doing. You can see active usage. You can see the system is performing a lot of the active usage, but then you can also see Renato here, who's been doing quite a bit of work. You can see what type of updates, changes that he's making. Is he creating records, updating things, or deleting things? And then the other piece here is plugins. If you've written some custom plugins, you can look to see if you're having failures here and which plugins are having failures and do some troubleshooting. So this is a great place to see kind of all of the basics across your system. Well, what if I'd like to edit this dashboard? So I can go ahead and click Edit here. And then I can click this little plus. And I can actually select from a whole list of other items that I can add to this particular dashboard. So I could select mailbox usage, and then that's going to add that chart right to the top here. I could maybe grab this and maybe move it down a little bit. Maybe I'll move it right here so my screen looks a little better. So again, all of the things that you would expect. Once you're in edit mode, you could change the size of these. I could stretch this out across like this to match up with the total operations. So this particular dashboard, again, you can edit and change and add charts to this dashboard. The rest of the dashboards are static. So you can't add charts to them. So you can consider this home as kind of, this is my home base. These are the key things that I want to take a look at. And again, all of these items that are available, all of these different charts are available on some of these other dashboards, and we'll go ahead and walk through that. Once I made the changes, I could go ahead and save this, and it's going to save my home dashboard. So now every time I come in, I'll have the mailbox usage listed here. So that's the home screen. So active usage. So once we come into here, again, we have our same total active users, but we have a bunch more information, right, about what people are doing, what time of the day are users active. Again, who's the most active users? Again, that's Renato. He's been working really hard lately. What operations they're doing. Again, you can see here, we're doing lots of reads in this environment because it's a demo environment. So we're not creating a lot of things. We're doing lots of reads depending on what we're doing within our demos. So these are the 6 things that come on this chart, but notice there's a few some tabs up here. So there's active users, and then there's also this mode of access. So there's kind of these three different dashboards within active usage. Here's some of the ones that Barb was mentioning. Active users by operating system, by device, by browser. You can see Chrome and unknown, and I wonder what that unknown is. It might be Microsoft Edge, actually. The active business units. And then you can see activity by security roles. Now, you'll notice that these are kind of the GUID, so maybe not, hopefully that's an enhancement they'll make instead of showing the GUID to actually show the security role. But I imagine these are probably sysadmin type roles that are active in the system. So that's what you see in mode of access. Next up is content usage. So this could be really helpful if you want to dig down a little bit deeper. We know that that Renato is very active in the system, but what are users doing in the system? What are they accessing? So you could see the most used entities here. It looks like we've been doing a lot of configuration of voice of the customer and some demos around that. But notice that opportunity, lead, organization, you can see the most used entities here. Again, most used custom entities, it can break that out for you as well. If you've built some custom entities, you can track usage there. And then, most used out of the box. So you've got custom and out of the box, and then kind of the most used entities all up. Notice that on this one, you can, this particular tab, you can exclude system users because that's kind of, it might be, skewing your data a little bit. You just want to see your users, not system users. So you could exclude that. But then you can also show activities for a specific user. So if you want to dig in to see a little bit more about what Renato is doing, we can focus on him and do a refresh here, and we'll see what he's doing. So I think these are probably the best. This particular active usage is the best place to go if you have the question, who's using the system? How are they using it? What are they actually creating opportunities and leads? Did I just roll out a new dynamic system for sales? And I'm not sure that my salespeople are entering leads in or adding opportunities. You can go in and see the activity against the entities here in this active usage. So it's a great way, again, to understand your user adoption. And again, the other thing I wanted to mention here, I'm going to go back to active users, is that I can't add, there's an edit button up here for this dashboard. And once this refreshes here, I'm going to go into edit. But notice that I don't have the little plus sign. So I cannot add charts to this, but I can resize these. So I could make this bigger that way, or I could maybe move it down or around. So the home is where you can add charts and make it your own. The rest of them, you can only just change the size. So once I've changed the size, I could go ahead and save, and it'll save that change that I made. So let's take a look at system jobs. So here you could take, here's all about workflow, execution, and how my system is running. So again, if you want to see, you've put some workflows into your system, what's happening with those workflows? Are they working properly? Do I have some failures? So you'll see here under top workflows by failure, this will give you a top 10 list. And notice it looks like I have a lot of failures on this field service, generate work order for agreement booking date. So I could actually click on that and I can get a little bit more information on the error that's happening. So I can see I'm getting some sort of booking timestamp problem with this particular workflow. So a great place to, if you're having problems on the system or to monitor problems with workflows, you could come into the system jobs and see what the status is of that. Let's take a look at plugins. Again, if you've written plugins in your system, you can monitor how those are performing. So this is kind of another place to go and do some troubleshooting. My success rate is great. I've got over 45,000 plugin executions. You can see the average execution time. So if you're having some performance issues, it might be something that's noted here. Again, you can see your top failures. You can see which specific plugins are having failures, and then go ahead and dig in and start doing some troubleshooting. Next up here is we have API call statistics. So again, the system jobs, work plugins and APIs is all about how's your system working, what's happening in the background. A great place to go for troubleshooting. Again, you can see top API by failures. And again, you could drill into this a little bit and see what those errors are. So I could drill into each of those and get a little bit more detail on what the problem with the APIs are. Yep. Mailbox usage is next. So here you can see the different counters around Mailbox. So there's Mailbox details by geo. You can see the number of configured mailboxes, the number of enabled mailboxes, the number of syncs. You can see there's not a whole lot of activity here because this is a demo tenant, but you can see some of the general statistics about what's happening with email. You can see the mailbox by server type. So this particular tenant is tied to our Office 365 Exchange environment. You can see the active email server profiles by geo. You can see the configuration. So these three are probably more appropriate. If you just have a single configuration in email set up against your Office 365 environment, this may not provide you with a whole lot of details or a whole lot of information. Down here, you have more of the usage information. So you could see if you're setting up your environment and you're having some problems getting mailboxes configured, you could see the number of errors here. You could take a look at usage. This is probably one of the most useful statistics here on mailbox usage. You can kind of monitor what's the volume on your mailbox usage. And then the last one here, last couple at the bottom are the number of Outlook mailboxes and the number of active email server profiles. And you can see there's not a whole lot of data here because this is our demo tenant. The last dashboard here is around storage. So I think Barb mentioned this is a popular question that we get all the time. This is a great place to get a snapshot of your storage. You can see the overall storage used across the tenant. You can see which instances of Dynamics 365 are using what for storage. So you can see we have a number of different instances here within our tenant, and you can see the size that they're taking up. You can see what particular tables are large. So if you're starting to have performance problems or you're wondering what's taking up all the space on my system, you can see here the system application metabase is the largest. Now, this is just our demo environment, so we don't have a lot of data. I would expect that in a normal customer environment where there's lots of data, you're going to see other tables that are growing. You can see the top tables by row count. You can see the size of the common tables and the row count of the common tables. So some great detailed information about storage and what's getting used. One other thing I want to point out here is you can see here, and this is kind of across all of these dashboards, in many of these charts you see an export to Excel in the upper right-hand corner. So if you want to dig a little bit deeper and do some analysis, I could click on Export to Excel, and it's going to export this data to Excel, and I'll go ahead and pop that open so you can see what that looks like. This one is not particularly interesting. you could see the kind of the category and size, but if you wanted to export it and combine this data with something else, you could definitely do that for the majority of the different charts in the system. The last thing that you see here is download. So we do have the ability to download some specific reports. So you have most active users performing operations and the most used custom entities and out-of-the-box entities. So if you wanted to do some deeper analysis here, I can select the report I want and I can click download. And then again, I can open this up and look at some data. So again, this is not very interesting because we really just have Renato and system. But if you want to, again, export this and do some additional analysis, who's doing creates, who's doing updates, who's deleting, who's not using the system at all. You can actually see activity and let some of this data guide how you maybe go and train users and help them with adoption, user adoption of the system. So that's a little bit about Organizational Insights Dashboard. What I would say is, again, the installation is pretty quick and simple. I think most of these charts that you have are pretty self-explanatory what you're looking at, but we will provide a link to a TechNet article that is a little bit more detailed on what each of these charts and the different metrics in the charts are monitoring. So that's the dashboard. The other thing I did want to point out is when you install this, it actually does install just kind of a normal dashboard. So here I went to Sales, Dashboards, and I'm in my normal dashboard view. And notice there's an Organization Insights dashboard. So this is something, for your system administrators, you probably want to give them access to this, right? To the Insights dashboard with all the information, but maybe a manager or other people you want to just give them some more basic information. You could give them access to this Organization Insights dashboard that covers some of the basics. Much of this is very similar to what's in the dashboard: active users, most active users, etc. Total page reads, operations, and then the users, active users performing specific operations. So just another thing that gets installed that you could use. So now let me switch back to our slides. Of course, it went did the same thing and went back to, we get to where we were. So we just completed the demo. Okay. So here's a few resources for you. So the first link there, AppSource, that you can actually go to the link to the application in AppSource. You can also get there within the Dynamics Marketplace, within your Dynamics 365 instance as well. But that link right there is going to take you right to AppSource and the Organization Insights application. One thing that's available in that AppSource, and I've also included the link here, is the user guide. So a great way to, I would recommend installing this and then grabbing that user guide, and it can kind of walk you through all the different pieces. And then I mentioned the TechNet article that you see. So that article has kind of all the details of, it does go through the installation if you want to use that for installing, but then also has all of a definition of all of the metrics in all of the different charts that we looked at. So that's what we had to cover today for Organization Insights. We've got our next community call coming up on Tuesday, November 16th at 11 a.m. Central Time. And what we'll be covering is Dynamics implementation best practices. And this has been, was a request from some folks in the community. So we're excited to have one of our team members that had been working in Microsoft Consulting, doing a lot of implementations on Dynamics, and he's going to come and share some best practices with all of you. Here's the link to that. You could also go out to our Yammer group, and we'll post a link so that you can register for the November call. And that's what we had for today. So we want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, as Barb mentioned, we will post the slide deck. We'll post the recording out on our Yammer group by the end of the week. Please feel free to ask us any questions on that Yammer group, and really appreciate everyone spending time with us today. Thank you so much.